Good evening and thank you for joining me this Tuesday. I'm Otto Othman and these are tonight's top stories. Malaysia to challenge 1MDB IPIC settlement. Prices of new houses expected to fall by up to 10%. And DNA testing begins to identify victims of Lion Air crash. The Prime Minister today said more senior government officers from the previous administration will face legal action for corruption. Speaking to the media after delivering a keynote address at the Anti-Corruption Summit in Kuala Lumpur today, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad also indicated that some of the senior government officers involved will be retained for the time being, as their services are needed to help the government. They will, however, be removed once they complete their job or task.
Well, there are lots of people involved, but we have to concentrate on a few first because we are short-handed. We cannot deal with so many people who were corrupt in those days. So for the moment, we go for the big boys. But eventually, of course, when we have gathered enough evidence that can stand up in a court of law, then we will take action against them.
Recently, a number of government servants were charged for corruption and criminal breach of trust, including former Treasury Secretary General Tan Sri Muhammad Irwan Sregar Abdullah and former Malaysian External Intelligence Organisation Chief Datuk Hassanah Abdul Hamid. Speaking further on efforts to combat corruption, the Prime Minister pointed out that it was important for the public to keep the government in check.
We are open. If anybody knows about incidents of corruption, do tell us. We will protect you and we will take action against a corrupt officer.
Tun Dr. Mahathir also stressed that as a result of the government's efforts on corruption, foreign investors are returning to Malaysia as they no longer have to bribe their way to do business. The Prime Minister added that the prosecution has a solid case against Datuk Sri Najib Tun Razak over several counts of criminal breach of trust, CBT, and corruption. He said there is ample evidence on Datuk Sri Najib's case, including Saudi Arabia's statement on money which the latter had said came from Riyadh.
Well, we know Singapore has taken action, even closing banks in Singapore and accusing collecting the money and giving it back to Malaysia. Switzerland has made quite clear that they have retained money that was to be laundered in Switzerland. America, of course, the Justice Department has made public announcement over and over again without having to repeat, without having to mention that Najib was a principal person who was involved in corruption. Although they call him Malaysia's official number one, everybody knows it is Najib. But what will happen is there must be evidence enough for him to be charged. Otherwise, they wouldn't charge him. And the thing is, whether a court of law would say that, oh, this money is from outside, from Arab Saudi. And when the people ask, how can you say that? Or they have evidence. What evidence? The Arabs have now come out and said they didn't give any money.
You mentioned that
Last week, Foreign Minister Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah said that visiting Saudi Arabian Foreign Minister Adel bin Ahmad Al Jubeir informed him that the money had nothing to do with the Saudi government. Malaysia today filed an application in the London High Court to challenge the outcome of an arbitration between One Malaysia Development Berhad, 1MDB, and International Petroleum Investment Company, IPIC. The move is in an effort to relieve the government of paying the remaining $4.3 billion as part of a settlement agreement reached at the London Court of International Arbitration last year. In a statement today, Attorney General Tommy Thomas said the basis of Malaysia's legal challenge in the High Court in London is that the consent award was procured by fraud or in a manner contrary to public policy. Under the consent award, Malaysia had agreed to pay $5.78 billion to the Abu Dhabi state company over a 5-year period. It has so far paid $1.46 billion, with the next interest payment of $50 million due on November 11th. Thomas said fraud is an established ground to challenge the consent award for public policy reasons. The arbitration was conducted under the rules of the London Court of International Arbitration between IPIC and Abar Investments PJS as the claimants and 1MDB and the Minister of Finance Inc. as respondents. Thomas said the application took into account allegations by the U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ, against former Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak, described as the ultimate decision-maker in 1MDB. The AG said both IPIC and Abar were aware of the allegations before the DOJ's announcement in July 2016 that it was applying to freeze billions of dollars in assets linked to 1MDB and purchased by fraudsters from stolen proceeds. In such circumstances, he said Malaysia takes the position that IPIC and Abar were aware of the fraud of Datuk Seri Najib. He was principally responsible for 1MDB and Minister of Finance Inc. consenting to the award. Meanwhile, the prices of new houses are expected to fall by up to 10% as the exemption of the Sales and Service Tax SST on construction services and building material costs kick in. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng said following the SST exemption, the Real Estate and Housing Developers Association Malaysia, REDA, had spoken to its members about the government's aim to reduce house prices. Speaking at a media conference at Parliament today, Lim said the reduction in prices can be expected on new houses that have not been constructed yet.
Kalau sebelum ini di bawah GST 6% dikenakan, tapi di bawah SST semua pun kerajaan boleh kenakan itu 6%, tetapi ini tidak dikenakan kerana kita nak memberikan rangsangan kepada sektor hartanah dan kita harap boleh melihatkan atau boleh menyebabkan penurunan harga rumah.
He said the prices of houses that are currently up for sale may have already been calculated according to the cost affected during the GST era. Nevertheless, Lim assured that there are plans in the pipeline by the government to be announced during the 2019 budget this Friday. As the tax exemption applies to all types of construction services, Lim hoped that the savings in the development costs incurred by developers will be passed on to home buyers. Now on to the Dewan Rakyat sitting. No decision has been made on the construction of the Crooked Bridge yet, as studies are still underway. Now responding to a question from Air Hitam MP Datuk Seri Wee Ka Siong at the August House today, Works Minister Barubian justified that replacing the Johor Causeway would involve high costs, give rise to socio-economic and political implications, as well as international relations.
Sehubungan itu, Kementerian Kerja Raya akan merujuk kepada Jemaah Menteri bagi mendapatkan pandangan dan nasihat mengenai hal 7 berkaitan dengan pelaksanaan projek tersebut.
The idea of the 1.4-kilometer-long Crooked Bridge dates back to 2001, with the intention to replace the Johor Causeway, which has been used since 1923. The project was cancelled when Tun Abdullah Ahmad Badawi became Prime Minister in 2006. Now, the Federal Territories Ministry said it will fully cooperate with the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, the MACC, on the 97 dubious transactions of over 600 acres of Kuala Lumpur City Hall DBKL land worth 5.63 billion ringgit. Its Minister Khalid Abdul Samad said investigations by the ministry's special task force revealed that out of the 97 transactions, 43 were cleared for sale, 14 were cancelled, 15 were renegotiated, and 20 transactions were headed over to MACC, while 5 more could not be finalized.
Kita serahkan kepada SPRM. So kita bantu SPRM dalam siasatan dia. Kementerian Wilayah Persekutuan akan terus memberi kerjasama dan kita yakin bahawa agensi-agensi yang bertanggungjawab akan mengambil tindakan yang sewajarnya sekiranya terdapat penyelewengan dan rasuah.
Khalid was responding to an oral inquiry by Cheras MP Tan Kok Wai, who had asked the minister for details on the number of lands in Kuala Lumpur and whether there were any elements of misappropriation in their sales. MPs were also told that Malaysia and Indonesia will work together to formulate a policy in an effort to counter the anti-palm oil campaign in Europe. Primary Industries Minister Teresa Clark said the government is confident that the bilateral cooperation would help reduce costs in terms of publicity and campaign strategy. The minister added that a meeting would be held on November 8th together with her counterpart in Indonesia to further discuss the agenda.
Pihak kerajaan akan bekerjasama dengan pihak Indonesia dan juga negara-negara pengeluar minyak sawit untuk merangka dasar macam mana kita lawan balik yang kempen anti minyak sawit di Eropah dan juga negara-negara barat. Saya percaya melalui kerjasama dengan pihak Indonesia, kita boleh menjimatkan kos dari segi dari segi strategi dan juga publicity kita di negara-negara Eropah, dan kita boleh adakan strategi dan dasar yang lebih berkesan untuk melawan balik kempen anti sawit di negara barat.
She was responding to a question by Kuching MP Kelvin Yili Yuen on the extent of cooperation with Indonesia to counter the anti-palm oil campaign. In Putrajaya, a senior police officer with a Dato' title who was remanded to assist with an investigation into a corruption case totaling more than 100,000 ringgit was released today. Magistrate Joan Tan Yin Ying ordered the release of the 56-year-old senior assistant commissioner with bail of 5,000 ringgit in one surety. The police officer, formerly the director of one of the departments in Bukit Aman, was remanded by the MACC for 5 days since last Friday. He was arrested at the Commission's headquarters in Putrajaya at about 7 p.m. the day before. Now, according to reports, the suspect was alleged to have solicited and received bribes between August last year and August this year. This was an inducement for not taking action against a Lance Corporal from Bukit Aman Traffic Investigation and Enforcement who allegedly had been taking bribes for reducing payments on summonses. The case is being investigated under the MACC Act, which provides a jail sentence of up to 20 years or fine of 10,000 ringgit or 5 times the value of the bribe, whichever is higher. In another development, a supervisor of a housing company claimed trial at the Seremban Sessions Court today on 17 counts of criminal breach of trust involving a sum of 922,500 ringgit 2 years ago. Now, 44-year-old Wong Zi Wei was accused of committing the offence at Jalan Ira Square 4, Seremban, between January 27th and April 25th, 2016. He was charged under the Penal Code, which provides a maximum 20 years imprisonment, whipping and a fine. Judge G. Ramesh allowed Wong bail at 70,000 ringgit with one surety. The accused was also ordered to report to the Campbell police station on the first Sunday of each month. The court set November 26 for a re-mention of the case. Meanwhile, an immigration officer was charged at the Johor Bahru Sessions Court for soliciting and receiving bribes 6 years ago. The 48-year-old accused, Muhammad Nazri Muhammad, however, claimed trial after the charge was read out to him by Judge Kamaruddin Kamsun. For the first charge, Muhammad Nazri was accused of demanding a 72,000 ringgit bribe from a ferry operator as inducement not to interfere with his business operations. As for the second charge, Muhammad Nazri was again accused of soliciting a 23,000 ringgit bribe from the same individual in the same year. Upon conviction, he can be given a maximum of 20 years imprisonment and a fine of 5 times the sum value of the bribe. The court allowed the accused bail at 20,000 ringgit with one surety while the case was set for remention on December 3rd. After the break, the reason why you should be careful when you go to the toilet. Stay tuned for the details. Welcome back. Now let's take a look at our clickbait for what's trending and making rounds in the cyber world today. Now, in the fast-paced world we live in today, one can never be too careful as there may be spy cameras hidden in the most unlikely places. Now, this is a story by Muhammad Khairul Din Zulkifli, or Khairul, who discovered a spy cam hidden in a door hook allegedly attached inside a Mama Stall's restroom during their visit to the stall last Friday. Now, Khairul shared his shocking discovery with Video Viral Malaysia Facebook page, where the video garnered over 115,000 views and 3,000 shares since its upload on Saturday. Now, according to him, the Mama Stall is located on the 5th mile of Jalan Ipoh in Kuala Lumpur. The hidden camera, disguised as a hook, was positioned at waist level in the toilet. Now, according to says.com, Khairul decided not to file a police report against the Mama Stall, as he wishes to only raise public awareness regarding the matter. Now, updated as of 7 p.m, here are the top trending topics and searches on the internet today. Beginning January 1st, 2019, banks must report any cash transactions exceeding 25,000 ringgit in their daily cash threshold report, a reduction from the current 50,000. Now, in her keynote speech at the 10th International Conference on Financial Crime and Terrorism Financing earlier today, Bank Negara Malaysia Governor Dato' Nur Syamsiah Yunos said despite the advancement made in e-payments, the use of cash among the public and small and medium-sized businesses remains high. The present requirements for the cash threshold report involves cash transactions exceeding 50,000 ringgit, involving physical currencies and bearer negotiable instruments such as travelers' checks. The amount excludes bank drafts, checks, electronic transfers, or fixed deposit rollovers or renewals. Small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, can expect some good news in the upcoming Budget 2019 to be tabled by the government this Friday. International Trade and Industry Minister Dato' Darrell Ley King said there may be a lot of incentives to be announced for the backbone of Malaysia's economy. He also said the SME's targeted contribution to the nation's gross domestic product (GDP) and export share by 2020 had been raised to 41% and 23% respectively, from 37.1% and 17.3% last year. To achieve this target, he added 32 initiatives would be intensified to develop resilient and sustainable SMEs, including high-impact and business accelerator programs, government financing mechanisms and facilities, as well as national e-commerce strategic roadmap.
Women stand a very great role to play to bring up the country. Maybe provide them more job opportunity. Let them speak up. Better chance of receiving better education.
As for upcoming budget, I'm looking forward to see what's the offer that government can get in terms of career opportunities for the new graduate student. Big government can open a new career opportunities for them so that they can get their experience.
Hope that government will reduce the fuel price because it's quite far from my house to work because the fuel I cannot afford the price. So I just hope that government will reduce the fuel for us because the distance.
I think for now, I wish to see that more reduced toll prices because we've spent a lot on tolls monthly, and I think we cannot rely only on the public transport because we cannot expect public transport to be everywhere, So yeah. So yeah, maybe control prices because I believe in the manifesto. They told us to abolish toll, but I don't think it's possible. But I think to reduce it, maybe we can talk more about that. Maybe 10-20 cents. Yeah, why not?
When we return, DNA testing begins to identify victims of downed Lion Air jet. This and more after the break. Thank you for staying with us. On to the foreign front. More remains have been recovered from the downed Lion Air flight JT610, which crashed into the Java Sea north of Jakarta on Monday morning, including that of a baby. Now, police have also begun DNA testing to identify victims, with DNA samples from 152 relatives gathered at the Bayangkara Police Hospital in Kramat Jati East, Jakarta. Meanwhile, Indonesia has expanded the search area to locate the wreckage as both the cockpit voice and flight data records, which could be key pieces of evidence, are still missing.
Deputy Police Chief Aridono Sukmanto, in a press conference on Tuesday, said police forensic experts are carrying out a series of tests on the remains from the crash site, but have yet to establish their identities.
Untuk seluruh hasil dari operasi telah ditemukan 24 kantong jenazah yang sudah diserahkan ke DVI Polri. Terus dari pagi sampai siang ini kita dapatkan lagi 2 kantong yang sekarang posisinya masih di lokasi di atas kapal.
Safety experts said the priority is finding the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder to help determine the cause of the disaster.
Hari ini search area diperluas, pencariannya mencapai plus minus radius hampir 10 nautical mile. 10 nautical mile ya. Dan tentu ini disesuaikan dengan teknis perhitungan.
The 2-month-old Boeing jet carrying 189 passengers, including 3 minors, crashed into the Java Sea early Monday. Its pilot had requested clearance to return to the airport just 2 to 3 minutes after takeoff, which aviation experts said indicated a problem, though its cause is still baffling.
As rescue workers search for victims through debris following the crash of the Lion Air jet, distraught family members held out hope for news of their loved ones and patiently waited for any and more updates from the authorities.
Dapat korban 5 di sini, keluarga saya. Iya 5. pesawat jet yang 610 ini.
Kelas dan ikhlas itu Tuhan yang nentuin, kita tidak bisa apa-apa. Ya kita doakan supaya ketemulah tim SAR, dia cepat ketemu. Kita doakan begitu aja.
Kakak saya Bambang Rozali Usman saat ini sudah terdaftar di manifest dari pesawat yang Lion Air ini di nomor 165. Tetapi kami masih berharap lah, mudah-mudahan Allah memberi mukjizat, beliau masih sehat gitu, mungkin terdampar atau di mana gitu.
Gak besar masih berharap sih Mas, dia selamat gitu ya. Masih besar harapan kita gitu. Kalaupun nggak selamat, ya kita berdoa semoga dari jasadnya almarhumah itu cepat ditemuin, Mas, biar kita bisa bawa pulang gitu untuk dikuburin di Bangka.
Now, Sweden is inviting visitors to explore the world of food with more than 80 disgusting delicacies from around the world being showcased at the newest soon-to-be-opened Disgusting Food Museum in Malmö. Now, the visuals wrap up 7 Edition this evening. I'm Matu Othman. Thanks for watching and have a good day.